So let's actually dive into it now, right? When I think of what are the key areas to focus on when building and scaling a team, there are about 5, and I'll walk you through some specific examples for how we tackle that at ChatDesk, but then also how does that relate to you here in this room today. The first is trust. Trust is a key piece, right? You want to make sure that if you're partnering or working with people in an area that you're not located there, that you trust that these people have your best interests at heart, but then also vice versa, right? The second is opportunity costs. I don't like saying quality. I like saying opportunity costs because if you don't focus on training, you'll see that it won't just be quality that will be a pain for your team in the future. Cultural differences. This is one that we'll walk through pretty shortly, but it's a key piece to making sure that you're not only building a strong team, but they see eye to eye on what you're trying to build. And then the last 2 are pretty controversial, and I'll tell you why. But for a lot of founders here in this room, there's a lot of masking and shaping that you need to do with customers and investors that don't look like you, and I'll walk you through how we did that at ChatDesk. So when thinking about areas to watch out for when identifying a team in Africa, I think there are 3 things to really focus on. I think finding a local partner who's part of your extended network. I'm not a big fan of just sending out a job posting and saying, hey, we're looking for a senior developer, or we're looking for data scientists. If you do that in Nigeria or Kenya or South Africa, you're going to get flooded with resumes. You're not going to know where to start. So, just quick example. Raise your hand if you have a friend that is either from Sub-Saharan Africa or their parents are from Sub-Saharan Africa. Cool. So majority of you all in this room, right? So there's a start. I mean, you can leverage your network. The world is becoming smaller and smaller. Focusing on showing, not telling. I think there's a running joke in Nigeria that if you looked at LinkedIn, there are more MDs and CEOs in Nigeria than anywhere in the world. Everyone's a CEO, everyone's a chairman. So, when you're looking at profiles, it's not enough to just look at someone's resume and say, okay, they have certifications, they have a degree. You really have to do your homework to make sure that this is someone that's a good fit for you. And then the last thing is, when you think about it, this is a marriage, and it's a long-distance marriage. So I don't know if anyone in the room has done a long-distance marriage for a period of time or a long-distance relationship, but it's not just enough to just say, okay, we're in this. There's a lot of work that you have to do, a lot of communication, a lot of sacrifices that need to be made to make sure that this marriage works. And I'll walk you through some examples that we are able to do at ChatDesk to achieve that. So let's talk a little bit about tactically, like where are some of the areas to focus on? Africa has 54 countries. There are a lot of places you can focus on. First tactic I think you should lead with is focus on where the money is going, because this is where you'll see a lot of the infrastructure. This is where you're going to see a lot of the hubs that are there and a lot of talent. So focusing on, number one, like where are VCs spending money currently across the country and across different regions. Friends and family, if you have friends who are either living on ground or they've lived there before, how do you leverage them to just gauge what's happening in Nigeria, what's happening in Ghana, what's happening in Senegal? References are key. I mean, if you're not able to have someone that you trust vouch for someone on ground, don't get into it. Unless you're going to be willing to spend time on ground, like I said, it's a marriage, not dating. So if you're not willing to do the work that you need to do to make sure that you trust this person, it's just not going to work. A couple of quick hacks to find some of these partners and leads. LinkedIn and Twitter are huge, right? If you focus on a quick LinkedIn search on who are the companies that are doing well in Kenya, South Africa, you may have a second connection to them, a third connection. This is where you can identify warm leads that you can focus on and reach out to a friend that you didn't know had a connection to, a senior developer or a data scientist or someone that could actually help you partner and build a team on ground. Another one that I think a lot of people don't think about is, professional services companies. So on the ground in Sub-Saharan Africa, a lot of companies that, really have people that can move and shake and have connections with people are at the consulting firms, your multinationals. So don't only focus on, I need to find someone who's ex-Google or ex-Microsoft. If you're able to identify people who are also in professional services, these are people on ground that could actually help you quite a bit. And then also accelerators and coding schools. If you go back to that page that we walked through earlier, there are over 500 different types of tech hubs and communities. I mean, that's a perfect way for you to start reaching out to them and building that relationship so that they have a sense of how they could help you out as well. One thing to note, if you can't find someone on ground and you're not willing to spend time on ground to actually build that relationship and identify them, don't do this. I've seen so many founder friends of mine that will try to hire someone in Sub-Saharan Africa, in Northern Africa, by just a Google Hangout and a few phone calls, and later on they tell me why they're frustrated that for whatever reason it's not working. You have to spend your time on ground to figure out, is this the space not only for your first hire, but if you were to build a team here, is this somewhere that you can build a sustainable group and community that's going to really drive the vision of your company and feel like they're part of the company as well. Usually we see about a lot of founders that come who have never been to the continent. They spend about a month, 2 to 3 weeks maybe, but you have to put the time in to realize, is this something that you want to get into? Because for a lot of founders, basically the answer is no. Focusing on savings costs is a losing game. Focusing on saving costs is a losing game. Focusing on saving costs is a losing game. This is so important. If you're only thinking about building a distributed team to save money, you will lose. And trust me, I have so many friends that try to do this. It's not a short-term game. If you're not willing to invest your time and resources in building a team there and actually spending time to continue to work and develop them so that they can become leaders of your team, it's going to be a lot of pain and heartache. So the next section is around just opportunity cost. And this is why I talk about the losing game of focusing on just cost savings. When you think about it, you hire a developer, you know that you're saving money, you're saving about 80% in cost per year. But you're not willing to invest time to sync with this person on a maybe daily or a weekly basis. Or let's say you're not spending time on ground to figure out what are some challenges that he or she is facing. Well, this is where you start seeing mistakes, bugs, broken links, your sales team not getting proper directions and they're actually sending emails to a wrong segment list, which they spent days and days putting work and time into. Reputation and company goodwill. I mean, this is worst case. God forbid something happens where you mess something up that provides a poor experience to your customers, and now they're saying, hey, I wanted to try the startup out, and for whatever reason, it's just not working, right? So how do you put in the time and training to make sure that you can give your team a fighting chance to succeed? When we thought about this, a big piece was onboarding and recruitment. So every person, regardless if you're an engineer, if you're a sales analyst, you go through a series of evaluations with us. And it's not just based on your ability, but it's also based on culture and fit, right? So setting time with all of your employees to say, hey, if I'm gonna be a sales representative, I wanna simulate a lot of ways where this person is going to be doing work on a daily basis. Putting in the workforce first is so important. When we started thinking about building a distributed team in Nigeria, I did the work of a sales development rep for months. I built lead lists. I identified who are the type of customers that really gravitate with the type of solutions we have. I did follow-ups. I put together large sequences. If you're not able to put in that work and you think you're just gonna pass it on to someone, I mean, it's just going to be a lot of pain for you, right? So spending that time to actually do the work yourself gives you a better chance to now develop and train your team once you're now on ground and thinking of building that distributed team. Are you all familiar with probationary periods? Raise your hand if you're familiar with that in companies. So this is something that's, for the most part, foreign in the States, but it's very common in Africa. most companies, when they hire you, they give you what's called a probationary period. So they hire you, but it could be 2 months, 3 months. That company can have the right after that 2 to 3 month period to say, I don't think this could be a good fit, and they'll let you go. Some founders, who I won't name, they don't do this because they feel that it's not the culture in the States. And then what happens is that they bring on someone who 3, 4 months down the road is definitely not a good fit. And you've wasted 2 months on someone who's probably not a good fit with your team. We do a month. We know that we've done so much work with our team that in a month we know if this person's a good fit because they've already done a lot of work in simulations. And we know within a week or two if they're going to be a good fit culturally, right? So, there's this term that I tell a lot of my colleagues is you hire slow and you let go fast. In ChatDesk, I've let go of probably 7, 8, 9 people in the 3 years that we've been up, and it's tough. It's always a tough discussion, but you have to realize when someone's not a good fit because you want to set them up for success, right? You don't want to just make sure that you're reaping the benefits. If they're struggling in their role, it's better for you to know that and let them go, so that you can continue to identify who's the right person for you. Structured and action-based targets. So this is actually an example of a training calendar we have for our sales development reps. And you see every single day it's action-based and everything is tied to the why. So why do we need a sales development rep? We need someone that knows our customers. We know that if we give them a template with the type of personalization that's needed, that they can now send that out to the right companies and potentially get meetings. So every day, our sales development reps, when they're being onboarded, they're going through these exercises. And we want to see, are they able to pick up the right types of companies? Can they just follow instructions? If they take a list, are they able to take a look at it and say, hey, there's something wrong here, and I want to raise my hand? There are a lot of different ways that you can test during onboarding, just to make sure that you're not only just testing the culture piece, but you're testing, can they actually do different iterations of the work? Now, if you're able to do a lot of this work, then you're able to reap the benefits, right? So for instance, when we were looking to scale out our sales team, I had countless of advisors and potential investors at the time that were saying, hey, Andrew, why don't you just hire a sales development rep in New York or somewhere in the States? We don't know, or we feel a bit worrisome that a team in Nigeria can do this. And then I asked them, I said, okay, what does a sales development rep do? They're going online, they go to LinkedIn, or they're identifying some type of lead list of companies that we know are the right types of fit for us based on size or type of product. They capture an email, they take a template that's already put together and they personalize it a bit, and then they press send, or they set out a sequence. All of that's done online, so you're telling me I can't build a team in Nigeria to do that with the right types of training? And the proof is in the pudding. So when you look at average SaaS companies, for every 100 emails that are sent out, you usually have like 1, maybe if you're lucky, 2 meetings. Now that's not including email responses, like actual meetings landed. Our team is doing 2 to 3 with a higher open rate. So this just shows you if you're willing to invest that time and effort, you're able to build a team that is not only performing, but they're actually exceeding performance from your peers.